So we're back. It's been a little bit. It's been a couple of weeks since we did the long recording for this first part. Um, in that time, has there been any major revelations that make you want to change where positioning is, or any argument for that, or
Well, let's have a look
Totally
see.
forgot.
if not, that's all good.
No,
I just wanted to see.
just checking out. Xbox isn't back in shit, but
No,
that's
it's
okay.
it's
Where it
good.
should be.
Everything in 6th gen should be where it should be. That was a really smart decision on your part.
I just finished editing that one last night, and so it'll be up this week. But it's 50 minutes of us just talking about those those consoles. So the Wii. This is quite the popular system for grandmothers and family people. Um, my I had a thought on this, and it was I was going to bring it up when we were initially doing the recording, but this is when we decided we needed to walk away because we had other things that needed attended to. We had spoken about the fact where we had something like the PlayStation 1 versus the N64. The PlayStation 1 was the winner of the two in overall sales and standings, but now that we're in the future, the N64 is the more sought after console. It's the more beloved console, that kind of thing. And honestly, I'd say the same with 6th gen. PS2 was the winner, but I'd say at this point, GameCube is kind of the standout console of like the collecting scene. Obviously, because like you can't really find GameCube games cheap anymore. They're skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Pokemon Gale of Darkness XD is $100 for just having a complete copy, which is crazy to me. But nonetheless, my thought was the Wii was easily the highest selling system in its generation between the 360 and the PS3. Is it going to have the same look back that most people do with the Nintendo consoles, or is it going to be seen differently this time around? Is it going to be a thing where the 360 is going to be the highest remembered here in 10 years, or is Nintendo still going to hold that title of being the most beloved console? Is kind of my it's just a thought I had kind of ringing around my head, I guess.
Well, in terms of sales and stuff like that, I like this one Twitch stream in particular that does stuff out of a game store, and like they travel to other game stores and stuff like that. And I'm hearing, through tales from vendors all over the place, that Wii is like on the uptick right now as well.
Okay.
And we touched on this like previously a little bit about just I think it's mutual between us that it just kind of feels like the 360 is almost just a time bomb for whenever it's going to red ring and quit. Like I personally just have that on the back of my mind. Like it's tough for me to want to go back and turn that thing on.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually I'll pick up, some kind of Xbox and be able to backwards compatible those, just because I don't have a desire to even turn that back on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in terms of backwards compatibility, it feels really different with Xbox than it does the other stuff, But yeah, in terms with the Wii, there's also just like this thing that goes on with it, between us who have played it a bunch, that it has so much shovelware stuff on it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like so much of that stuff looks like you get it from like a Flash website. Like,
And that's because a lot of it
games. It's just, yeah.
Chicken Shoot, yeah, that was on a Flash website.
Yeah. I have even back then I bought Defend Your Castle, which was like a Wii Virtual Console thing. That was like that was like a Flash thing too, literally.
Mm-hmm.
But put on there. But it had multiplayer, I had another friend that was able to flick the Wii remote, the bad stick figures away from the castle. But I don't know. I just see that on the uptick too. And I heard Phil Spencer from Xbox even recently say that like Nintendo is a treasure that must be protected. Like
Mhm.
he's even saying that, like on his side. Nintendo just has that beloved name behind it, and I think that's a drive for it, standing the test of time a bit more.
Mhm. So,
Uh,
oh, go ahead, Joe.
yeah. I honestly think this is. I don't know whether it is going to go down as or be remembered as the best from this generation,
Yeah,
but for me, legitimately could be. Which, I know that there are tons of great games on the other systems, and I'm aware of the whole shovelware because there's a lot of shovelware. But just because something looks like a Flash game doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad, because a lot of where the industry has gone since then is indie games that began as Flash games, whether that's completely out of the box defense of a lot of, because there's a lot of terrible games on the Wii and stuff that but so bad it's good, maybe. I feel a lot of what the legacy of the Wii is that it did backwards compatibility very well. Its allowance of legacy content on Nintendo's part is something that at the time was unprecedented and has still yet to be replicated properly. Even the Wii U wasn't as good as the Wii. The amount of consoles that you can get available to play on that, it offered a lot. It incorporated silly online features of messaging friends as well. So it does have that, but in that more lax Nintendo way. In terms of like where it'll end up being placed in that generation by the grander gaming community, I don't know that people really care because it's so casual. It's such a casual machine. But a lot of what Nintendo's sort of business structure at the time, I completely agree with, and I thought that they did a very good job that whole generation in implementing things that would become a part of the games industry moving forward from that point onwards.
Mhm. Yep, yep. I agree with that. I enjoy a lot about the Wii. I have there's one thing that happened in my life of using the Wii that kind of holds it back for me, and that's 100% a personal thing that I can't really hold against the Wii. It's more an issue with my sisters. I was playing Twilight Princess. I had gotten halfway through the game, and my sister decided to get herself to grab the copy of the game and save over all save slots with her like half an hour in thing. So I'd lost all that progress on that game that I had spent the time doing.
3 save slots, and they have to go.
She saved over all 3 of them, and that annoyed me so much. I sold the game at the time, and then I just didn't touch the Wii for a little while. But I mean, it has a lot of shovelware, but it is still a fun system. It is, to this date, still the ultimate party system. Like, I don't think there's ever been a better system for party games, really. In my opinion, at least. Like, it's an easy 4-player game. Everybody kind of gets into it, and it's not like you need to be super like heavy gamer to get into the games that are on the Wii. It's all like gesture stuff due to the motion controls. There's some like timing button stuff and hit them real fast, but there's nothing that's like technically difficult for just anybody to pick up and play.
Yeah.
So it's good for that.
Yeah. Even I want to go back and play bowling with people every once in a while, in Wii Sports.
Also, there's a Wii still set up in my living room, and when people come over, sometimes we put on Wii Sports and. What was the other one? The one that had the sword fighting.
Oh, and Wii Sports Resort that got too. Bundled with a Wii Motion Plus accessory, so it could do the sword stuff better. I mean, we still ended up just waggling it like crazy. Yeah, it's the same with boxing, just throwing your arms like crazy in that.
I think that needs to be brought up, though, is that not only were the games casual, but the controls were also incredibly hit or miss with the majority of games. You say that this is a great party machine. I agree. Even recently, I've got together with friends, not since the pandemic, before then, got together with some friends and played the Wii, with just carnival games and just those party games that were so plentiful on the Wii. The amount of times that I felt frustrated with the controls on the system due to the console itself. I mean, you could argue that you can get it right, but it felt like it was so prevalent on the system.
Mm-hmm.
It genuinely is a frustration sometimes to play the Wii. And especially when which is, I think, a theme of Nintendo even still today, in that their, incessant need to incorporate these bizarre control schemes, is sometimes to the detriment of the quality of the game, and the fun that you have playing it, because controls should be that second nature thing. And the idea of motion controls aren't bad at all, but they can be, in a lot of these games, absolutely terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like not only is so much of the library terrible, so much of the terrible library has terrible, even worse controls, and it feels like the bargain bin games. Oh, it's fun. The games are so cheap, and there's just weird, and there are so many weird games, and I love that about the Wii. Licensed games are weirdly interesting to me, and the Wii licensed some of the most ridiculous stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and so I could walk into any game shop now and see a game, based on something that I never thought a game would be based on, and it would be for the Wii, and the curiosity would be piqued, and I'd want to be like, well, how have they done that with that then?
Mm-hmm.
M&M's comes to mind
Yeah,
immediately first.
There's like 4 different M&M's games on the Wii.
Yes, just stuff like that, right? And it gets you curious, how much that actually lends to a legitimately good gaming console. I don't know, but you have to remember that, as much as the PS2 was a landmark in terms of DVDs, I think the Wii is in equal respect a landmark for its streaming service capabilities. It really felt like the one machine everyone was getting Netflix for originally, back 10 years ago, or whenever, about 10 years ago. I remember people using their Wiis for Netflix. It was the first kind of introduction to streaming that I had seen personally. How all over the board that was, I don't know, but I remember distinctly it being used as a streaming, service device, with other things like YouTube, which Nintendo don't even do now,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't understand. But I feel like that impact on the streaming stuff is also an important topic to bring up for me personally, anyway.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to bring up, talk about the control in general, because I do have quite a few gripes with the motion controls. And like you had said, Dan, they had to sell a Motion Plus pack to try and improve the motion controls so that they were usable in certain games. And I know, like, people always talk about Skyward Sword and how many problems it had with it, and I'll preface this by saying I like the game, so no one gets mad at me. I do like Skyward Sword, but the fact that your defense for the controls not being bad is that you have to use the reset controls button is a terrible excuse. The fact that there is a button to recalibrate the controller in mid gameplay so that you can use it properly is not a good excuse to me. You also have to be in a relatively fair-sized room. This room I'm in now, I can't play Wii games in it. That's why the Wii is set up in the living room, not in my room where I play my games. Because I have to be a certain distance from it, or else it just starts glitching out how it registers with the motion sensor bar. And I do like a lot of the games on there. There's a lot of little hidden gems. There's a lot of fun games on the Wii. But I don't think as a overall console, I think I'd, at least in that generation, I'd put it underneath of the PS3 as far as sitting down and playing it, because my PS3 is hooked up now. I still play that. I was playing it yesterday. I haven't touched the Wii in a little bit, other than to play a few little games here and there that I find interesting. But I don't think it's bad. I'd put it exactly where it's sitting on the scale right now, right behind the PS3 and B.
I agree. I agree exactly with B. I think that's where it should be. In terms of, like, it being comparing it to the PS3, a sort of, a period example. You're right. I mean, those games you're coming back to on the PS3, you're not going to come back to on the Wii. Well, I hope you're not going to come back to them on the Wii at all, because there's a later console coming up that I hope we all agree is the definitive way to play. But just as a system, I think B's totally fair. If it's okay, or C, but I can agree with that anyway.
You, Dan?
Ooh, but based on sales, though, man, the Wii sold
gen.
like crazy.
The Wii sold like crazy.
I mean, Wii Sports bundled in broke records. If I'm trying to remember right, I mean, didn't that surpass SMB1 that was bundled with the NES?
I
can't quite remember.
No idea.
Yes, I want to say it did. I'm not. Don't hold me to it though. I want to say it
I'm
did.
personally going to be going like I have my PS3 hooked up too. It's just more of a media machine. Like that's just an awesome thing for playing movies and Netflix and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And through other methods, I'm using my Wii quite a bit. And maybe this is too much of a sidetrack. I find it funny how neither of you were that surprised that I just had a Wii on hand for me to just pick up.
I have
like
three.
I didn't know we were talking about it.
I have three in the house.
Yeah.
There's two up there right now.
Yeah, so if it's not surprising, I'm picking up a second one. Are you surprised yet?
No.
That I had both of these just sitting here? What's it take to impress you people?
No, there's one hooked up in the living room. I've got one sitting over in my actual bedroom, which is the first one with the GameCube ports to it. Then there's another one in a box sitting out there that's just like spare parts if for some reason anything goes wrong with it. And then in here I do have the definitive way to play the Wii hooked up.
Okay.
But
good.
We'll get to that.
How
eventually.
many PS3s do you have?
One, because I haven't had a need for a second one. So would you where would you want to place it, Dan?
I'll agree with you guys.
Okay.
Because I can't help but think about the shovelware. Like,
yeah. Alrighty. I'm curious to see how people feel about the next one, the 3DS. And in the same vein of how we did like the Game Boy Advanced with its multiple different versions, the DS, the 3DS, the 3DS XL, the 2DS, the 2DS XL, the new 3DS, the new 2DS, the new whatever the list of all of them are, they're all kind of included in this. But we can still talk about the merits of each individual version of it. The original being the 3D wasn't that great on the original one. It worked, but you had to have that sweet spot, which did annoy a lot of people. I personally wasn't bothered by it too much, but I know that was a complaint that a lot of people had. And I enjoyed the games that I've played on it, whereas like I was able to sit there and talk about a bunch of games on the DS that I loved. The 3DS really was just a Zelda and Pokemon machine for me, and I didn't expand crazy far into the library for 3DS to know too much about it. I do really like the system. I went out of my way and bought the new 3DS, which is in my bedroom actually, because I was playing it the other day. But
dude, nice.
But the new 3DS fixes all the issues that people really had with the 3D and where it tracks your eyes and everything. So it actually works pretty well. The C stick on it was cool, but kind of ultimately it was useless because I think there was like 5 games total that used it. It was cool, but like I said, useless. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say on the 3DS. It was an interesting step up after the DS, but I don't know what it really did to make itself incredibly unique.
So if you want to go.
Oh yeah, sure. I have wanted one of the other renditions, but the one that I have, the only one that I ever had, was the picture that you put there.
Mm-hmm.
That exact one. Um, Even though I had one of the others. Man, I got crazy use out of it. It was such a big deal for me personally. Um, when they said that Smash was coming to that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I played Smash, interestingly, far more on the 3DS version of it than I did on console because it came out so much earlier
Mm-hmm.
uh, than the Wii U version did. Uh, Also, a point that's probably worth bringing up. I'm wondering where you guys sat with this, but I got it around launch time, and for the people that may or may not know, that got a price cut not too long
Mm-hmm.
after it came out. So the one 3DS that I have is an Ambassador 3DS. You guys are familiar with that, I'm
Mm-hmm.
guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so that made me like, even if I did pick up another one, I almost wouldn't want to transfer the save stuff over because this is my special Ambassador 3DS. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you go and you shop for them, they even advertise it as Ambassador 3DS. Just because they even like, I can't remember for sure, but did they really not even go forward with like porting some of the games, like virtual console wise on that thing? Like you
Uh,
had to have Ambassador 3DS to get some of the games
yeah,
that they even did.
the list of games. I think it was like 10 games that they gave you for the Ambassador 3DS. Did not play on the new 3DS at all. Like
Dude,
it
that's
was
crazy.
like they had just locked those games to the Ambassador 3DSs, as far as I know. Um, yeah, as far as that, like the 3DS kind of holds the title for me of the first console that I bought brand new by myself. Like it was the first one that I had worked to get the money for and bought on my own. I was trying to buy it originally when it was out, but what ended up making me buy it was when they dropped the price. So I have an original black gray model. And that was the one I bought, and like I said, I ended up buying it just because they dropped the price. But I was trying to save up for it. So it's not a system I dislike. It's just the time period that I got it in was when I was really in the position of everything I buy, I had to buy on my own. So the
Yeah.
money was a little tighter. I wasn't able to pick up as many games. Thus, it became the Zelda and Pokemon machine for me, and I didn't really expand too far out of that area of the library. I probably will
Okay.
in the future, but I still haven't done it quite yet.
Dude, because the library's awesome.
Any thoughts, Joe?
I don't have one. Loads of kids that I knew in school had one, and I was always, I always have been, and always will be way more interested in home console gaming. By this point, I'd worked out that it's not really something that massively appeals to me.
Mm-hmm.
The Switch is quite nice in that it's the option, which is the perfect compromise. With the 3DS, you say about the price drops and stuff. It was always like, oh, it's only going to be getting more and more affordable. And I was like, one day I'm going to get a 3DS and I'm going to be able to pick up a handful of games for it and it'd be a nice gaming machine for a while. And that day's just never come. There's always been something else that I'm more interested in. So generally speaking, no real thoughts. In terms of experiences, I haven't had much time playing on a 3DS. I think I played briefly on a friend's model and a kiosk in the shop game. But honestly, beyond that, I have so little experience with the 3DS. So not really. This is basically almost up to you guys entirely because I've got almost nothing to say with the 3DS.
Okay. I will say, aesthetically, I like the original model of the 3DS, like how it looks, the
Yeah.
like weird layers that it has, and they were all like slightly separate, different colors.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, I really liked it. the wedge of the 2DS was not all that pretty. That one still confuses me, actually.
But
I get
it was
why they.
cheap.
It
when
was
that
very
first
cheap.
Came out.
It was very cheap. I get why they did it because for the price, but like, it just seemed weird to me that they had spent the last since pretty much the Game Boy SP doing the clamshell design to throw out the wedge just out of nowhere. So, and then they did that like late in the life cycle of it too. Like it wasn't like crazy. It wasn't like real early or anything. It was a little later in the life cycle.
Which I think is something that has to be mentioned, is how long the machine lasted, considering how bad it was doing in terms of being a success initially. It struggled. They persevered. They dropped the price. They made it. I say competitive. The Vita was never competitive, but this machine was alongside the smartphone gaming revolution, and it held its own for significantly longer than I thought it would. Even as a kid, I was like, "Oh, this machine's doing really badly." Like I was very aware that the machine was not doing well, but like it lasted. It outlived the Wii U, which isn't that difficult, but it's still pretty impressive that it lasted as long as it did. And I think that's a pretty cool legacy for the machine to have, even with no real personal experience with the system. Like you have to give it props for how long it managed to stay relevant, even into the Switch's life for those first couple of years that it was.
Yep. There is something to be said for it on the games in general. Like I know I said I haven't really gone through the much of the library, but I do know some of the games that are on it. I think the Ocarina of Time, I guess remake, is one of the best ways to play that game at this point.
It was really fun.
Because I mean, like graphically, it's stepped up, which should be obvious at that point. It's in full 3D, like with like depth 3D with the game, and I think I played that game the entire way through on that.
Same.
Gyro aiming makes aiming in that game so much better, made it so much more fun.
I can do horseback archery.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. It was the first, I want to say it was the first Nintendo handheld to have a 3D Mario game to itself for a little while, because it had the 3D Land, which was then like kind of like brought over as 3D World on the Wii U, but for a few years there it had its own style 3D Mario game, which in one way you could still say is better to play on that one just because it actually has 3D, so you get some of that extra depth to it. Legend of Zelda was Link Between Worlds is my favorite 2D Zelda game. I say 2D, but I mean I know it has 3D graphics, but it's still the top-down look.
Yeah,
Absolutely love that one. The Pokemon games were fun enough on there. There was some small issues that people had with them, but I still enjoyed them. But outside of like that, that's really. Oh, there was it was some random game I had downloaded off of the eShop. I honestly cannot remember the name. I'd have to go back and download it. It was like a 3-hour experience about some monsters that attacked a tiny village, and you played card games throughout it. I remember that. It was like it was like a $5-10 game I had downloaded just randomly. Stuff like that, but I mean, I like the system. I don't know where I would place it though. It's not a bad system in any way. It had its little hiccups at launch, but they rectified that, brought some good games out for it. And it's a system that I want to get more into the library of. I just haven't done it yet.
Oh my goodness. Like, one of the best games I ever played was Kid Icarus Uprising, which was exclusive to this.
That's one I really want to get because it was updated to work with the C-Stick on the new 3DS model, and I do really want to play
That's awesome.
it. So
I would love to play through it like that.
Yeah, no, that's one of the games I really want to get my hands on. I just haven't found it in a store yet.
Yeah.
So what would you say for this one, Dan?
Oh
Position-wise?
man, I really like this thing. I don't want to go first.
I say like I I I don't know if I want to put it in S, but at the same time I do, because I do genuinely enjoy the system, and I
Dude, I
know.
mean, it's backwards compatible with all those DS games right next to it.
Well, that's what I was
know?
gonna say. Like, I enjoy the system, and while I haven't really played with much of the library, I know it has a good library, and completely backwards compatible with the DS, which we've already said has an S tier library. So it's one of those things where I don't have as much experience with it as I would like to. So it's either like a top of A system for me or an S, and that's kind of where I sit with it. So it's on you, Dan, really, on this one.
Oh well, to me it's an S. I love
Alrighty.
this thing. Like, um, it's almost there's almost too many like amazing games that I could name off in the library. I mean, there's huge fans of like Shin Megami Tensei, and it was able to come back like through this. This is where the Fire Emblem boom probably kicked off, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
launched off all those games. You were like you said, it was a Pokemon machine for you, but like people really like what happened to Pokemon when it came to 3DS. I think I was under the impression of that. Big fans of like the Mario and Luigi RPGs and some really cool other experiments like Codename Steam was like this first party Nintendo game tried that was almost kind of like their version of XCOM in a way.
Well, I know I had a friend.
They even had it
who-
working with Amiibo.
They did, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, go
Continue
ahead.
Going. I was gonna say, I had a friend I know, back in high school, he was crazy on the machine for its RPGs. He pretty much would buy any RPG he saw on the system, and I know he had a crazy big library of games just of RPGs for the system. So
Bravely Default and games, like I just said, Mario and Luigi and like other games like that. Dude, and I just have to mention like Street Pass was like really cool too.
Street Pass
They
was
were, like-
interesting. I liked it.
I love taking that thing to convention, and they're just dumb, silly little games, but they worked because you had that unique connection with other people that just had it in their pocket.
Yeah, and that, you bringing that up brings up a memory of mine that like I don't know how I forgot this. I went to the midnight release for Pokemon X and Y for this for which was on this system. And I remember, of course, everybody standing in line outside of this GameStop at 10 to midnight had brought their 3DSs. There was a line. It wasn't like a gigantic line. There was maybe like 50 people there. But it pretty much just comprised of people running up and down the aisles with their DSs trying to get as many street passes as they could in the time. And then they would get back to their spot in line and they would put through all their street passes, get their puzzle pieces, and throw the little characters through it. And then they'd run back up and down the line again while waiting for Pokemon. And that was such an interesting experience that, I mean, you can't get on any other system at all.
I like whenever cons open back up, I'll still keep my 3DS in there just to see who I end up street passing.
So I'm fine with it in S there. So
It's S.
Alrighty, we will move on. Do either of you have much to say about the PlayStation Vita?
I don't.
Don't. Do you, Joe?
Yes, have more experience with this in the 3DS. Legitimately had one for several months when it first came out. My sister's boyfriend at the time worked at a place called Game Station, which is shut down now, but just a game shop. And he got one for being the manager there. He just managed to get one, and I was like, "Can I play it?" And so I had it for a few months before he sold it on. And so I played quite a few games on it. I remember playing, I think it was Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified, which people said that they didn't like, but I was more blown away by the fact that I was playing like a legitimate twin stick shooter on a handheld console, which I hadn't experienced before. And visually it looked very nice. It did have those gimmick touchpad stuff, which they've now implemented into their home console controllers and stuff.
Thankfully, not as bad.
Well, all right, mate. But like, so it had that kind of level of like gimmicky, gimmicky controls that I think handhelds were being sold on, that Nintendo had kind of set the precedent of. But I played a few more games on it. What I remember, the Killzone game that was on it, which I really liked. I loved the Killzone game on it. And then there was what was it, like a Mod Racers kart racing or something?
Yeah, Mod Nation Racers.
That which wasn't massively into or completely impressed by. But like it was more of a, oh, this is cool. Where are the games that really look awesome and stuff? And I'm sure that they exist, and they definitely do. But I think that's generally the legacy of the system, is that like it was a pretty decent console that just didn't get the support, and it was supported afterwards with limited run games and stuff like that. The smaller print companies, for quite a while after basically everyone else had abandoned the system. So true. People try to keep the system alive as long as possible, but ultimately, it's good console. The library, I guess, probably in the end was okay because so many people were trying to support it with genuinely interesting stuff. But I don't know how far that can legitimately get you in like a list like this.
Do you have much to say on it, Dan?
With PS5 out now, maybe you guys have seen how people are able to remote play from their PS4 into their PS5. I was waiting to see if anybody has tried for the PS4 to remote into the PS5, but I know that the Vita could remote to the PlayStation 4. So I'm wondering if people are able to remote play their PS5 on their PlayStation Vita.
Just like through three steps of remote play.
Yeah, I haven't heard if that's a thing that's happened yet, but I'm kind of interested. Dude, I wanted a PlayStation TV, and I would still maybe care to have one of those. Just turn it into a console experience. I had a relative who had one, and so I got to mess around with Call of Duty for like a few minutes, but I didn't own any of the Sony handhelds. I never had a PSP or this thing. There wasn't anything that I was in the library that I was like, grabbed me to want to play it, except for maybe, it had an Uncharted specific game, and I was really into Uncharted, when those were coming out. And then I think like the big main one for me was Persona 4 Golden. And then it finally, after all this time, came out to PC and then made this.
That upset me. That upset me. That game was worth like $100. The game was like valued at $100. Now it's valued at like $40.
Oh man, it took that type of a cut.
Yeah. No.
I would still hope that people would. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll bounce back.
Maybe, who knows? Sorry, go on.
No, that's about all I have to say. Like, it just didn't. There wasn't anything that was marketed towards me or that I saw when I looked into it that super made me want one. But it is really cool that it's twin sticks, like Joe just said. And it is a pretty dang nice screen that it's sitting on. It
is. I quite enjoy mine. It was actually sitting here on my desk because I was just playing it recently. I understand people's problems with it, and as far as like the library goes, it has games in it that are worth playing, but the question is, can you get those elsewhere? And most of the time, the games that are worth playing on this system, you very much can. it has a bunch of quirks. We'll say that. It is fully backwards compatible with PSP games, but specifically only digital PSP games because it doesn't have the UMD drive that the Vita had. So some of the PSP games you can get on here, but that doesn't. It's not really a library that's fully open to people who are, well, like us, where we have our games physically. So that was one downside to the backwards compatibility with it for me. I own, I'd say, like 3 games physical for this system, though. Everything else I own, I have digitally, just because it's so much easier to download a game on this and run with it versus what it was with this. Because as much as I love portable systems, I don't think I've ever taken this outside of my home to play it. Like, I'll be 100% honest.
Mm-hmm.
Because the 2 main things I ever did with this system were, 1, connect it to my PS4 so I could play my PS4 in my room when I was sleeping. And 2, I would play games that were interconnectable with the PS3 versions, like Ratchet & Clank Full Frontal Assault, or games that I'm currently playing through the PS3 versions of the Trails of Cold Steel, because you can connect these, you can cross-save between the Vita on them, and that's the only reason it's actually out right now, is because I'm playing through the second game, and I was moving my save back and forth so I can play it on my TV, then when I go to bed I can play it in my room, which I still enjoy that, but I'm not playing the Vita because I want to play a Vita, I'm playing the Vita because it's the best way to play it, that game for me at the time, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, that's nice.
So while I do quite like the system, I don't think it's anything super spectacular. Didn't sell crazy numbers. The PSP sold a lot more than it did, but that's mostly because the PSP was easily hackable, and you could put a bunch of ROMs on it and play Nintendo. You could play Nintendo games. That's why everybody bought it. So if I had to put it on here, I'd probably put it in B, but it wouldn't be. Would I put it in B? I trust it more than I trust the 360, but I don't know if I like it more than the Wii. Is kind of like where I'm sitting. So I don't think it's a bad system. I don't think it has the issues that are like in where C would be, where it's just kind of C's just kind of like systems that work, they're inoffensive. So I don't think I'd put it there. But
to me, I feel like it's to me it's just between 360 and Wii, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of where, looking at them, that's where I would put it. I just don't know if I'd probably put it at the end of B then.
It's above a Game Gear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'll just shove it there, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, dude. I had a friend. We both backed Mighty Number 9 around the same time. And nice. Yeah, it was. But he made a mistake even bigger than I did, because he put in to get a Vita version of the game, which he never got.
Yeah. Did they ever give him like any code for any other version, or did they just not give him a version of the game?
I mean, I'd have to ask him for specifics, but I thought maybe that he signed up to where he was supposed to get 2 codes, because I put in for the Wii U version, and it straight up didn't work. Like, it crashed. It constantly crashed. Like, I despise that game so much. It's like the worst Wii U game that I have, because it doesn't actually function.
Cool.
So I was playing. My way of playing through it was his PlayStation 4 version of it.
Okay.
So I don't know where he was at with codes and stuff, but yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
Right, so where are we putting Mighty Number 9 on the list then, guys? I'm thinking. Why else is that one here? Literally totally forgot.
Alrighty. Next system. Unless
hang on.
you have
Hold
more
on.
to say on the Vita?
No, can I get a drink, please? Just because.
Yeah. Run, get a drink. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
thanks.
Mizu Kudasai.
I love his little setup where he's just got a board sitting inside of his inside of his bookshelf, and that's where he sets his mic.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's brilliant.
It is quite brilliant.
The drink's here, by the way.
I remember when I was over there, you showed me that, and I was like, "Really? That's what it is?" You're like, "Yeah."
Yeah, literally, like.
It's just a board sitting inside of his shelf.
Can I just add, I have Mighty Number 9 on Wii U, and I've never played it. And now I want to play it.
My middle version, I would beat a stage, and whatever stage I'd pick next, like, it would crash. It was positively unplayable. And I complained on the forums, and, you know, of course, there wasn't anybody. So I really wonder. I really wonder if they bothered to patch it to even make it playable.
Probably not.
Like, I tiered high enough to get a beta download on PC, and I was ahead. Like, I got to see a sneak peek. You know how they complained like the explosions look like pizza?
Yeah.
I played that beta and saw that explosion. I'm like, dude, it's so neat to see the graphics so rough. I'm gonna remember what this explosion looked like, and then I cannot believe it. Like, the full game comes out, the explosion didn't change from the beta version. That's when they started making memes out of it. I specifically thought that when I played the beta too.
Well, I remember with Mighty Number 9 when they first pitched it, they were still talking about it being a fully 2D game, not a 3.5, or a 2.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
And like even then, when I saw like when they were showing like the concept art and stuff of it, I was like, "Oh, that looks good," you know, like it looks like it could be like a good art style on a game that could be fun. And then they're like, "No, we're going 2.5D," and I was like, "Now it's kind of ugly."
That's where they betrayed like a lot of people because the first art was like that, you know.
Alrighty, the next system we're probably going to talk about quite a bit. Ready to go, Joe?
Ready? Yeah.
Ready? We all. All right, here we go. The Wii U. Who wants to go first?
Joe, why don't you go ahead?
Yes, please. I love this box. It's honestly, I'd say it's the first console since the original Xbox and that whole sixth generation that got me legitimately interested in it. And I was playing and I was excited to... It was like I would walk into a game shop and I would go to two sections. It would be the original Xbox and the Wii U. There were no Atari 2600 sections, unfortunately. But this, I love the console. It has so much weird, like the whole, it's a gamepad, it's a console, you know, merged into one, is like, I loved the ability to be able to play games off of the TV. You know, now with the Switch, it's a little less novel, I suppose. But I love the way that the controller feels. I love what I like to call the Wii U's vibe. It really feels like just a nicer Wii vibe. I remember loading it up for the first time, just loads of excitement. I got it in 2014, so it already had like Mario Kart, which is the best Mario Kart they did on the Wii U, Mario Kart 8, apart from the Switch one. Smash Brothers, which was my first real experience of Smash, which I really enjoyed. And New Super Mario Bros. U was, I believe, the other one. Didn't own the one on Wii, but played it around other people's houses, so I was excited for that. I really wanted this console. It just was offering... I was so like not interested with what the other consoles were doing and what they were going for, but just stuff like Splatoon and like Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze just interested me. It grabbed me. Like I just wanted to get involved with this system in particular because, you know, it felt like, oh, these are just games that you can play. It's not like, here's a season pass, Here's a first-person shooter. You know, here's just a lot of what what the industry was doing. I wasn't like keen on, and the Wii U felt like, I mean, it had its issues, but it felt like a bit of a sort of, you know, a breath mint from that. And the fact that it is backwards compatible with the Wii to the extent that it is I think maybe to its own detriment slightly, because it kept the Wii controllers and stuff. Improved they may have been. I was still using the original Wii controllers, even for the Wii U. But the Wii U Pro controller, I loved. The thing has like 100-hour battery life. I think I've legitimately charged it 3 times in like the 6 years I've got it. Just so much good stuff on there, and I love to go back to it. And the only reason I don't play it more is because it's not set up here. But if it was, I would still probably play it probably every week. I really love it. There's just enough on there, weird, interesting stuff. Which I say just enough. Obviously, its library wasn't massive, but it was condensed. It was like the total opposite of what the Wii library was, which was so weird. But also, it felt like Nintendo were beginning to sort of care about their games and being pushed into the direction the Switch went, with the way that they were treating their games and stuff. But I mean, I love it. Like, this is early, but this for me is at the very least. I love this thing so much, and you boys better not say anything bad about it, otherwise I'll be very angry with you.
All right. I quite like the Wii U. I do like it quite a bit. It's still hooked up. It's the best way to play a Wii. It is genuinely. It feels like it's a half step though. Now that the Switch is out. When it first came out, it felt like a whole thing to me, at least. Now that the Switch is out, it kind of feels like it's the half step between the Wii and the Switch. And just because everything that I loved the Wii U for, I'm kind of doing on the Switch. I loved that I could sit on my couch and play a game with the Wii U, and then once I got tired, I'd flip off the TV, just give it the big old middle finger. I would turn off the TV, and I would go lay down and with the gamepad with what was it, like a couple feet of range away from my bed. Mm-hmm. And I would sit there and I'd play the games on it, whether it be a Zelda or a Mario or any of those. Like, I had my fun with it there, and that's kind of what I do with the Switch now. Is it sits in my dock, I play it on the TV, and if I'm playing it when I go to bed, it comes out of the dock and it goes to bed with me. The fact that it did use the Wii remote so heavily kind of made it feel like it was still just an extension of a Wii, though. As much as it honestly was a new system, it wasn't like where the Wii was pretty much just a GameCube with new controller. The Wii U was like actually a new system that was on par with the PS3 and 360 at the time, even though I'm pretty sure it's considered it's 8th gen, isn't it?
Correct,
yeah. So, I mean, it's weird to think about it like that, but it is technically up against the PS4 and Xbox One. But it has, to me, if I had to give it how the system feels to me, I have the same feeling for the Wii U as I do the N64, where it's that weird Nintendo system that has these tiny little quirks, but it just has a solid library of just Nintendo games, pretty much. There wasn't a whole lot of third-party stuff. There was some, obviously. What was it? There's that Lego City Undercover, is a fantastic little game.
Yeah, it is.
It has its third-party games. Yeah, it has its third-party games, and a lot of them are fun, but when you look at it, it's kind of like the N64. You see it for the Nintendo games that are on it. And while Breath of the Wild is like seen as a Switch game, it's also on the Wii U and just as capable, so that's genuinely one of the best Zelda games ever made is available on this console. which I think has its own merits. The only thing this system really doesn't have is a 3D Mario to its own. That is like in my opinion, a proper 3D Mario, because 3D Mario Land is a fun game, or World is a very fun game, but it's not the same as 64 Sunshine or even the Galaxy games. But I do genuinely love the little system. I wish the gamepad lasted longer, and I wish I hadn't lost my charging dock, because I don't have that anymore, and I've been trying to find one so that I can actually use the gamepad again. So recently I've only been playing Wii games on it, but I do like the system. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love this thing. I had it pre-ordered, but I was still at Toys R Us at 4 in the morning. And I was being the ambassador of the Mushroom Kingdom that I am, and answering random people's questions about the system. So that was a fun experience. Even though I had it pre-ordered, I was still there because I was worried about something happening, you know. But I picked it up. I love this thing. What's kind of keeping me from playing it now is because I have a pretty bad issue with my gamepad. I used it so much that the left stick doesn't work.
Okay.
Kind of reminiscent of the drift thing that's happening with Joy-Con now. I can't help but feel like. So that makes it so, some games that I want to play, I just kind of can't. Unless, you know. It was like Star Fox Zero I was trying to go through at the time. Which, Star Fox Zero is one of the only games that I can think of at the moment that are really big to me that I'd want to play, that hasn't gotten ported to Switch or announced to be ported to Switch already. I'm struggling to think of other stuff that is awesome that hasn't gotten ported to the Switch or is about to be. You know,
and that's kind of one of the, I'd say, downsides of the system now, and not at the time. During its life cycle, this of course wasn't an issue, but the fact that Nintendo's pretty much ported every game worth playing to the Switch is, if you have a Switch, it kind of downgrades the worth of the Wii U. There's, like you said, Star Fox there. Was it Xenoblade X or Cross, whatever one they called that. I know that's not been ported yet. I'm trying to think, what else is there? I know there's a few, because I've heard people talk about a few of them that they want to see, but it's not a whole lot.
I have a hard time thinking of them.
Project Zero. What's it called for you guys? Fatal Frame.
There
was a Fatal Frame on there. That's
Did you guys get a physical copy of that though? Because over there in Europe, we only got it digitally, and it was It was like a 28 gig game, and the biggest system you could get is 32 gigabytes.
32, yeah.
So if you have that game, it is the only game you have on your system.
Yeah.
Which is honestly, it's the reason I do not own the game. I would have bought it had it came out physically, but it was only digital here in America, and it was also censored quite a bit from what I heard. So I didn't pick it up. But
Nintendo Land is so awesome. I think it's kind of slept on.
That's true.
That. Nintendo Land. One of my, if I name off top 3 games, crazily enough, Game & Wario is in there. If you have the right people, Game & Wario is so much fun with friends, and that kind of experience hasn't been replicated on anything else.
No.
Sharing the gamepad like that for the games that you do in Game & Wario is so standout and awesome. I can't believe that I knew enough people when Smash for Wii U came out. I was able to do 8-player Smash. I was equipped. And I had 8-player Smash 8-player Smash going, where I was even playing with the 3DS, because there was cross between those. I was using the 3DS as a controller for the Wii U version of the game, which was insane.
Yeah. I guess my question is, and I'm sure you guys might. I do not know anybody in person who owns a Wii U outside of myself.
I know.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I know 2 people, and one of them wants to sell theirs, and I'm waiting to see if I have the spare money to buy it off them, because it's the one. It's there's the white normal one, and then the deluxe one that everybody bought.
Mm-hmm.
There's one other rendition of the system, and it was the Wind Waker with the Wind Waker style gamepad. That's the one that he has.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
buy
I
that
would
one
have
up.
I would have the complete set, if I was set up with that.
I guess the
yeah.
what is it? Scott the Waz has like 5 different Wii U's or something like that.
Wow.
Because he's got the 2 different sizes. He's got a PAL one, a Japanese one, and I think he has like one other for some reason. But like I don't know. I just don't know many people with a Wii U, and that's obviously because it didn't sell fantastically.
Yeah.
So.
I just want to say I've only known 2 people who have had a Wii U. One of which is someone from a very rich family who a grandmother got a copy of New Super Mario Bros. U for Christmas because it's the Wii and the Wii U are so similar. They only had the Wii, so we'll just go out and get a Wii U. Brilliant excuse, I guess. But again, only one other person do I know actually has bought and played the Wii U. Other than that, I know nobody. And believe me, I tried to convert the entire of the kids in school. PS4, Xbox One. No, boys.
No.
The Wii U. No one. Yeah. I was in game trying to pitch it to people. which console? You don't want either of those, mate. Trust me about this. All right, I know video games.
Yeah.
But like, to be fair, no one I knew had one, but I still loved it, and people who played it with me also loved it. Wii's a very good party system. The Wii U's like a very nice party, almost like a sort of, oh my god, a sleepover system. Like it's perfect for that. Like I love it for that.
Throw YouTube videos up for everybody.
Yes. But you can't even do that on the Switch with the media, though. So you bring media up, but like it was there having a lot of what media does. The Switch doesn't do that. Like in many ways, the Wii U, the Switch could learn a few things from the Wii U. I think it ditched a lot. It took a lot of what made the Wii U so fun and made it accessible to loads of people with the Switch. But like, even still, just the ease of like, okay, don't know if I say this. Cut this out if this is too. The best porn system I have ever used.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Because and hear me out, right? You can have it on the TV and then headphones with the Wii U gamepad. Someone comes in, there's a TV button, which no one uses the TV button. I use the TV button. TV button off, boom. Still got the headphones on, brilliant. Turned down, lovely. All set. It is amazing for watching stuff that you shouldn't be watching.
That's a kill switch. You press the TV button, it would just
it would just cut it to the pad, wouldn't it? So it would only display on the pad.
It had a full TV controller on it. Click the TV button, you could turn it off, do whatever you want. It was amazing. No one used it apart from me. I was really hoping you guys would be like, yeah, I used to use the TV to pull up. So yeah, don't know if that helps persuade you.
Doing this with the door not locked so people can just come in.
Yeah, exactly. Just turn it off. Brilliant. I'm not doing anything. Amazing. Love the Wii U.
But the sound's not coming through the TV. You because you have headphones plugged into the Wii U.
Yeah, or no headphones, just tiny speaker by your head. Only I can hear it. Only I can see it. Brilliant. I mean, that's a compromise if ever I've had one. So if I haven't picked the Wii U, if I haven't sold this as at least an A, I honestly think S. I've just heard myself like, oh my god, I've got to get this thing back. But yes, I love it. Don't know how to end that bit, but
Yeah,
good luck trying.
reset. In
What
case he
can,
wants to.
what can we say? Porn sells.
Well, yeah, they did that thing where it was like, what system had the most porn? Like most people were watching porn on, and the PS4 was winning. And I was like, it's so not fair. Like if more people had the Wii U, they would just they'd figure out, right?
Well, what I can say about the Wii U is anybody that I've known who has owned them, it may not be in, I haven't known them in person, but anybody I've met who has owned a Wii U, 99% of the time genuinely loves the Wii U. Like it's a favorite system of them. Like it didn't sell well, but everybody who played it, who had one, absolutely loved it. Like it was just one of those systems like that. And I had a talking point I was going to talk about before Joe brought up the porn, and I honestly it slipped my mind, and I don't remember what I was going to say. Miiverse. That was such an interesting little thing. I wish it was still around. Oh, that was such a fantastic.
I saved my posts. They put out a service for you. Mm-hmm. You know, you put in your ID and stuff. They'll send you everything that you ever posted. I still have that backed up.
That's cool. That's cool. Because I never made any posts on it, but I would always peruse through it and just see what everybody was saying, what everybody was drawing. You had the really weird kids on there having like role play conversations, and then you had like the people who were like genuinely good artists on there drawing pictures and
Funky Barn, man. There was a game because every game had its own like category. Mm-hmm. Funky Barn was a place of absolute anarchy. Like all of Miiverse just agreed to just like go Mad Max in the Funky Barn game category. They just picked some random shovelware game as Funky Barn. It was absolute anarchy. And
oh my god,
dude, is so funny.
I have Funky Barn. I'm really I haven't.
I'd never seen any gameplay from it or anything. Just I knew about that.
Me neither.
Funky Barn. and then oh my gosh, this great memes that like I feel like still stuck around, like because Super Metroid got ported over. There's just this one post that's like still like a famous meme that you could look up. How does Metroid crawl? And it's like a segment where in Super Metroid where this kid's like apparently trying to figure out how to go to Morph Ball so he can like crawl under this, you know, get out of the space there.
Nice,
dude. I have a video that I saved with me and my friend. Speaking of Miiverse, I super missed this in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. There was a Miiverse stage in Smash Bros. And while you played, there were posts that went up designated to different characters. The different characters that you were playing as. And sometimes it was completely awful, like inappropriate stuff that would be flashing up behind you.
Yeah.
But we had this insane moment, and there's a video of it where the Crash Bandicoot, like, whoa, you know, this person was so dedicated to that they drew Crash as like every single character in the game, basically. That while we're playing, like that Crash was like flashing up behind us. I guess it's hard for me to explain, but it was hilarious. Like when we were playing and had that come up at just the right time.
Okay.
The timing was really insane. I can shoot that over to you guys.
Yes, please do. Please do. I'd love to see it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But yeah, and so without getting too much more personal anecdotal about this, if we're talking about the Wii U, I 200% like can't stay quiet about Super Mario Maker. Super Mario Maker on the Wii U is probably my favorite game, and it changed my life. There's still aspects about that one that I missed. At the time of recording this, Nintendo recently announced that they're cutting off like online service with that one, and that is just, you know, that's not big to a lot of people, but it's like huge for like me and my friend and like the community I have with that. Yeah, all I can say to sum it up quickly and simply is that it changed my life for like streaming and the connectivity and the people that we met through that. And that's like something that none of these other consoles have delivered. like that kind of experience,
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I'm 100% happy with putting the Wii U in A. It's just one of those systems where like the sales numbers don't follow it. Honestly, it should have sold more, and I think there was a large part of it was the confusion of it being called the Wii U. Because there was a huge amount of confusion with people assuming it was just like an add-on piece for the Wii, so no one cared about it. But like, it's sad to see how short of a lifespan the Wii U had because of because of how that went down. I feel like had it been given the chance to, even if it just doubled its numbers, maybe it was at like 30 to 40,000. Some of the stuff we could have seen on the system had Nintendo really put more time into it would have been. I would have loved to have seen it, because and the Switch kind of doesn't deal with this as much as the Wii U did, but when they were splitting their development between the 3DS and the Wii U too, I kind of wish they wouldn't have done that in its own way. I wish it was kind of just the Wii U, because I would have loved to see a lot more done with the Wii U.
Yep.
Just because I feel like there was a lot that system still had in it that just never got explored. So I say A. Does everyone agree with that?
Yeah, I suppose A. I just also take into factor, like, it's, games that I want to go back and play. Dude, so many of them are on Switch now.
And that's part of the issue. Otherwise, I'd almost say S. If it had its own, if the library that the Wii U had was its own library, I would almost say it was S, because there are games worth going back to. They've all been ported to the Switch. So, but yeah.
I love the thing though.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
It's like between that and like the fact that my left stick isn't working out and I haven't gotten around to getting it replaced or fixed, that's the kind of dent in it for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose I'm happy with where it's at. What do you guys think?
I'll be honest with you. I really want S. I was the fact that it had low sales to do with why you're putting it in A at all?
No.
Or was that just sort of a secondary?
That's just kind of like an anecdote about the system. My main reason for not putting it in S is the simple fact that a large portion of its games are on the Switch. And
well, yeah, I agree. I know where you're coming from with that, but you take a look at the other systems in S, and how many times we've seen those libraries pillaged. What real reason do you have to go back to, like, the NES or SNES now, really, other than that authentic experience? I get that the fact that the Switch was so soon after the Wii U and then everything was ported there, that actually is damaging to the console because it's so soon afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, even though I still feel charm towards the Wii U, as I said, like nothing else bar those 6th-gen systems. I really, honestly, really want it to be S, but I'll accept A, but it's amazing.
You do bring up the point of, I guess the other systems, they are all... See, I guess the NES and the SNES, yeah, they've all been ported. The Game Boy and DS, it's a lot of backwards compatibility. There hasn't been a lot of porting to it yet. I think the Wii U should be at the top of A, not at like the bottom of A there. I don't know. Why won't it let me shift it? There we go. Genesis was really wanted to have that spot. At least I really like the system. I just don't know.
It does do what Nintendo. Oh yeah.
Oh, it does. Yeah. I do really like the system. I just don't know if overall it's quite. It was nothing like NES and Atari were both, like, in my opinion, game changers. They were definitive, like, things of their time. The SNES, we all agree, is the definitive 2D console. Like, that's the one you should go back to and play. I can hear an argument about moving the handhelds, but the Game Boy Advanced is a gigantic definitive of its time. The DS is building on that. The 3DS, I can still see it in A, maybe not S, but I'm giving more Dan that leniency because he's got a better idea of it than the two of us do. So I don't know if as much as I love the Wii U, I don't know if it was anything that really can sit quite in the same lines as the definitive consoles of their times, or the consoles that kind of built what gaming is today. You see what I mean? That's kind of my main reason for holding it back from S.
It's totally fair. Like, looking at the other systems in there, yeah, that's fair. I can cope with A.
So, good on A.
Yep.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on up. Moving on over. The PS4/PS4 Pro. I love my PlayStation 4. It's got a lot of great games on it. It's got two of my all-time favorite games now have come from the PS4 generation, God of War PS4 and Nier Automata. A lot of great RPGs on it.